Hey guys, Huffy Bear here. Just wanted to make a little video, talk a little bit about why I'm excited for Fatal Frame 4 finally coming out to the West. During the Nintendo Direct a few days ago, it was announced that Fatal Frame 4 Mask of the Lunar Eclipse is finally coming to the West on multiple platforms, which I'm so happy about because for the longest time, it was never translated outside of Japanese and it was only on the Nintendo Wii. Now, there were ways around this if you had custom firmware installed in a Wii or a Wii U, if you had a ROM, if you had a translation patch, and I mean, these things are done and they were done, but they were kind of a pain in the butt to deal with. So even though I had a Wii U, I just never got around to doing it. Even though I'm a big fan of the series, I played the first two and the fifth. Haven't gone around yet to the third and the fourth. Fourth obviously being the one I'm talking about right now. But they had a trailer for it at the Nintendo Direct, and I didn't stream it, but I was screaming when I saw it. I was so happy, finally. So I figured I'd want to talk a little bit about it, that this horror series kind of deserves a new audience, you know? It deserves to continue. It deserves to have success. So I'm happy that they thought that their investment in re-releasing Maiden of Blackwater last year was successful enough that they were willing to port 4, which to my understanding no one really knows about outside. Most Fatal Frame fans outside Japan just didn't even go through the trouble of playing it. Even, I mean, you can't help not knowing Japanese, and I think that there were specific Wii controls as well that made it difficult to emulate on a PC. I don't know. I'm just going to leave it at that. But I figured I would share something that I found on the Fatal Frame subreddit, and I'll post a link to these tweets down below. But shout out first off to G Rakshasha for translating this from Suda51's book. So Suda51 is a video game director. He's famous for what are those games? I want to say, well, the one that I own from him was Killer is Dead. I have the collector's edition for that on my wall, but he's made a bunch of other games. And apparently he's a Fatal Frame fan, and I didn't know this. But he also directed Fatal Frame 4. At least he was one of the directors listed. And he goes over this here, and I'll read it. I'll read parts of it, I'll skim it. So he was approached by Tecmo, and apparently he admits to be a scaredy cat, but his wife loves horror, and his wife forced him to play the first Fatal Frame, which I thought was pretty cool. And he eventually ended up really liking it and becoming a fan of the series. Going forward, he met the producer and director for Fatal Frame, and they were fans of each other's works. So he was approached to help them make a new Fatal Frame game for Wii. And at first he was kind of on the fence, and he eventually agreed. But outside of these tweets though, and he goes over some of the game development process, this one thing stood out to me, and I'll go to it now. I believe it was it this one? No, it was the last one, where they were talking about the difficulty of making horror. And this one I'll read verbatim. The difficulty of making horror. After actually making a horror game, I realized I can't really handle the genre. In the end, there's no way I can compete with Shibata-san. The fear that he can create is the real thing, as he's actually been able to see real ghosts since he was a child. Shibata-san just puts all the things that he has actually seen and experienced into his games, which is why they're so scary. I'm just an imposter. That was the bitter truth that I became painfully aware of. For this game, I only wrote the scenario for Toshiro Kirishima chapter. For that chapter, I thought I'd make it more of an action game than a horror game. I felt like I left all of the scary parts completely up to Shibata-san. From the Suda51 official complete book. Once again, it was translated by G Rakshasa, so shout out to him, and I'll tweet the link to the tweet in the description below. But isn't that freaking cool? So not only was he a fan of the game, he helped out with 4, but one of the producers, directors, Shibata-san, he he can see ghosts, and that's why the games were so scary. I didn't I was not expecting that, and this was I'm sure this was known, but this was news to me, and that just makes me even more excited to play Fatal Frame 4 when it finally releases. So I want to put this out there. I hope that if you are the least bit interested in this game, you'll give it a shot, whether that's on Switch, on Steam, on Xbox, on PlayStation. I think it was even on Luna or Stadia. I'm not sure. I mean, wherever you can, if you can give this game a chance, please do and try it out. And also check out Fatal Frame 5, Made in Blackwater, that got released last year. The closer we can get to getting the first and second one remade, remastered, I don't care, or even a new one in the series, the better off I think we'll be. So sorry for rambling on, guys. I'm Huffy Bear. I just wanted to share my thoughts a little bit, and I'll catch you guys later.